And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to a little bit of a video essay about unpacking some of the lore behind the costumes in Star Wars The Force Unleashed. Beginning with the default costume for the apprentice, the training gear is the initial first look that we have of Galen Merrick, Starkiller, after his abduction by Darth Vader. The default costume for the apprentice reads as follows. Given to him by Darth Vader, this training suit has been maintained and repaired by the apprentice ever since. This being the current iteration of the suit, it's reminiscent of his childhood clothes, and the outfit has a metallic or plastic upper back covering that envelops the collar and the shoulders of the apprentice. A note on his chest that looks somewhat like a restraining bolt that is often attached to droids in the Star Wars universe to keep them from acting out. This would be obviously completely non-functional, as Starkiller isn't a droid, but it does put into the audience's mind that Starkiller is a slave. He's not his own man. The wraps and raggedy condition of the sleeves and waist wrap shows the story of many training sessions. Partly for warmth, but also makeshift bandages, Starkiller is covered in scars and lacerations inflicted by Vader himself or earned throughout Starkiller's encounters in his early training. It is clear that most moments are very violent and dangerous for this young man. In general, the outfit is a reflection of the character up to this point in his life. Ill-fitting to his gaunt appearance, lean and utilitarian, yet also minimalistic. He wears rags, as befits his forced role as a servant, yet it also is intimidating. It introduces us to a time in Starkiller's life that is very important. As the default outfit in the game, it does a phenomenal job of setting us up for our adventure, and it's no small wonder that it is one of the most iconic outfits when thinking of The Secret Apprentice. The heavy training gear is a heavier variant of the training gear. Most of what can be said about its previous iteration can also be said about this outfit. Cobbled together from rags and equipment, the Secret Apprentice is generally more protected than before, but only by so much. The face wrap obscures his face and slightly trails down his back near a sort of power pack module, where you don't know if this is a filter or some sort of life support mechanism. It glows with a cold redness that is actually reminiscent of Vader's own color palette, particularly around the blinking red and green buttons on his chest control module. The apprentice also has several thermal insulated portions of clothing around the legs and the arms of this outfit, likely to provide coverage to his skin and to keep blood flowing regularly. On a planet like Raxus Prime, which is where we get this outfit, the apprentice would have needed to protect from infection and caustic matter. This is particularly important for two facts: lack of a confirmed tetanus shot lore for the Star Wars universe, and the lacerations and healing cuts on Starkiller's body would put him at considerable risk, not to mention any wounds that he suffered in the field. Also, note the buildup of grime that begins to occur in the story here. Starkiller's head is covered in dirt and grime, which is not present aboard the TIE Fighter shipyard in the previous mission. Probably the most interesting thing about this outfit is the arms. We aren't sure if these metal arms are just for protection or if there is any sort of bionic assistance to the apprentice's strength. Originally, this is what I had assumed, but thinking about Vader's cruel training methods, it isn't very likely that these arms provide any strength assistance whatsoever, but merely protect against falling metal debris and cuts from navigating the scrapyard. This is particularly important for the more delicate bones of the hands, which are very important for a Sith assassin. The light training gear is the final base game variant of the training gear set. It is referred to as the light training gear, an even more minimalistic take on the original costume. Shirtless and with a smaller apparatus on his back, this is either for medical reasons or perhaps even tracking. This is a costume that we see the true depth of Starkiller's physique and his physical suffering at the hands of his master, Darth Vader. Never, even after years of fighting in the Clone Wars, have we ever seen someone as scarred and battle-worn as Starkiller is in this outfit. The only one that comes close is either Rom Koda himself or, in a more extreme version, Ren, of the Knights of Ren from the Marvel comic run of Star Wars. That is a character from the Disney canon. This outfit returns to the base model and gets rid of the shirt and shoulder pads, and also disregards the metallic arms and thick padding of the previous outfit. It is lightweight and maneuverable, very similar in concept to the outfits of Shaak Ti and Maris Brood, who, let's not forget, live on Felucia long term. This would be tropical. We also see, likely with no downtime between the mission to kill Kazdan Paratus and now being on Felucia, that the grime buildup has continued. Starkiller is still covered in dirt and grime, and this is a subtle sign to the player how much farther that the character is slipping into darkness as he continues his training under Darth Vader. As he gets closer and closer to his goal, he shows the wear and tear of this on his body and in his soul. Though this grime is momentarily washed away between Shaak Ti's death and Starkiller's return to Vader's Super Star Destroyer, immediately before being betrayed, where we see him return to the training gear outfit, this is a great transitional change from the dirty appearance of the light training gear and helps us walk backwards to a new aspect of his clothing. The medical robe is our first non-rag or training gear outfit in the game, notably absent in the Wii and PS2 versions, where whatever outfit you were wearing when Vader betrays you just carries over into the next cutscene. In the HD versions of the game, you receive the medical robe, intended for patients and experiments aboard Imperial medical frigates. This outfit is clean, in a sanitational sense, but also in its concept. Starkiller has been cleaned, his wounds healed, and the entire outfit feels laundered. His scars, of which only a few are visible, are healing and fading, where before they were still very angry and red. The outfit comprises of a sleeveless tunic, a sash, pants, and some gray boots. He looks relatively cared for, however the restraining brace on the right arm indicates to the audience that he may be healed and clean, but he is no less Vader's slave. A very well done outfit, and simple for its uses in transitioning the visual storytelling, though its very short appearance makes sense as the medical frigate level is very short. The Bounty Hunter disguise. After Starkiller's escape from crashing a medical frigate, we see a small time skip in which, having saved Juno and fled aboard the Rogue Shadow, Starkiller then travels from Nar Shaddaa all the way to Bespin and its Cloud City. The Bounty Hunter disguise is first and foremost based on Jango and Boba Fett's armor pieces, though without a helmet and incorporating elements of cloth to add a more heroic appearance for the apprentice. As it is a Legends continuity game, I can't really refer to the Mandalorian lore that didn't exist at the time, but we know that this armor is of Mandalorian design, particularly in the design of the cuirass and the vambraces. When most fans think of the Bounty Hunter, it is this armor we associate that image with, and both of the Fetts. The chest sash adds a bit of softness to this otherwise formidable outfit, as well as portions of a kama, which is adapted from Mandalorian design as a command skirt. Incidentally, this is also a design that was adapted into the clone armor, utilized by ARC troopers and certain specialized units of the Grand Army of the Republic, particularly by Captain Rex and the sharpshooter variant of the Clone Forces as seen in the 2005 version of Battlefront 2. Worn and weathered, Starkiller either got this armor secondhand or procured it in another way. It served him well, and if using the same outfit over the course of a playthrough, is very fitting in general for the Star Wars universe. The Corellian flight suit is likely the most civilian outfit that Starkiller will wear in this game. It consists of a short jacket and several buckles, and the flight suit itself. This outfit is very reminiscent of Luke Skywalker and Han Solo, a fitting reference for Starkiller's first active name of the Rebellion. During the Yavin ceremony, following the destruction of the first Death Star, Luke abandons his moisture farmer clothes and his pilot uniform for a much nicer, likely Corellian outfit consisting of darker clothes and a flashy yellow jacket. This is likely a spare set of clothes owned by Han Solo and stored on the Millennium Falcon. Please note the yellow stripes down Luke's legs are very similar to the red and yellow stripes that normally adorn Han's legs. The nod to Han Solo is more pronounced, but in different ways. Han's general outfit from A New Hope is his iconic vest and pants with the Corellian blood stripes. Being shown in A New Hope, the red Corellian blood stripes are first class, and then in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, he wears his second class blood stripes, which are yellow, which we see Luke wear in this Yavin ceremony. Now, we can cover that in another video if there's interest, but Solo always wore Corellian attire, from his time as a young street rogue to his time as a smuggler, so it shouldn't be surprising that a lot of the design motifs from Han are clearly seen here and are also carried over in future projects, like the Solo spin-off movie. The Jungle Combat Gear. Jungle Combat Gear is typically regarded as a very strange outfit for Starkiller. This one actually is very different as compared to the PlayStation 2 and Wii versions of this costume. As we see it in the HD version, we have a short sleeve, curved shell-like chest piece, and along with the sash and utility pants and boots. The other version is considerably cleaner due to the texture needing to be simpler, but with a high neck, sleeveless leather to it. I actually ended up preferring the Wii and PlayStation 2 version to the one we get in the HD edition, but I have more footage of the HD. Regardless, from a lore perspective, we see an adaptation on ancient Sith armor, but from a very different place than typical Korriban-inspired Sith armor, when actually it is inspired by the Massassi people, which were an ancient race of beings enslaved by the Sith roughly 5,000 plus years before the Battle of Yavin. Now, that isn't to say that the Massassi weren't from Korriban. They seemed to originate from the Desolate Planet alongside that of the Pureblood Sith. Featuring red skin, much like the Pureblood Sith, but exclusively to their race, they had blazing yellow eyes. Eventually, the Massassi people were relocated in mass to the moon of Yavin 4, where they were allowed to build their massive stone temples and structures along the planet's surface. The Great Temple, where we see the Rebellion house, is one of these temples. They were brought to this place by the Sith Lord Naga Sadow. However, due to Sith alchemy, their forms were warped and distorted, becoming more bestial and equipped for manual labor. However, this talent for alchemy persisted, becoming a key aspect for crafting their arms and armor. In an earlier video covering Imperial Felucia, I originally credited the Massassi armor to that used by the followers of Exar Kun, and while that may be correct, we largely don't actually know because Exar Kun didn't become a Sith Lord, or Dark Jedi, until about 1,000 years later, the Massassi being taken to Yavin 4 by Naga Sadow. Kun's fall to the dark side was around 4000 BBY, a couple of decades before the events of Knights of the Old Republic. It is this armor, enhanced by dark side alchemy, that inspired the armor of the Jungle Combat Gear. Lightweight, yet incredibly durable, it protects Starkiller as he carves his way through the hostile jungles of Felucia and faces numerous Rancor.
He won't let you.
The Industrial Exploration Suit, an impressive suit and vaguely reminiscent of Darth Vader's own armor, the Industrial Exploration Suit covers Starkiller from foot to jawline, protecting his skin from the harsh environments of Raxus Prime. It's relatively simple. The high neck collar is reminiscent of Vader's own mask frame, as well as utilizing a control panel on the chest. However, between the color being more brown than black and a lack of a cape, the outfit serves as an improvement on Starkiller's situation the last time he was on Raxus Prime. The Jedi Adventure Robes. Another iconic costume for Starkiller, and akin to Luke Skywalker's own Jedi robes from Return of the Jedi. These robes are said to have been gifted to his new apprentice, Galen Merrick, who we know as Starkiller, by General Rom Koda, just before the Rebel Leader Summit on Corellia. Originally intended for Jedi travelers who sought out new frontiers for the Jedi Order during the time of the Old Republic. This outfit cuts an impressive silhouette and frames our hero for the final leg of his journey. Symbolic of Starkiller's final steps into the light, this outfit is clean, yet with darker accents, never letting the past of his character be forgotten. Unfortunately, we don't know much about the outfit actually, compared to the rest, and it's completely unique. with little to no history other than the fact that this is one of the many sets of clothing given to the apprentice by General Coda. The ceremonial Jedi robes. The reward for completing the game on a light side ending, the ceremonial Jedi robes are one of the classic Jedi robe options for Starkiller in the base game, comprising the same white and brown color scheme that we see as traditional throughout the prequel trilogy. It has an angled hood. The mystique and regal feel of the hood is maintained while also having the classic Starkiller twist, the classic Starkiller wrist wraps, which allow this to feel special to Starkiller, while not alienating the motifs that surround his character design. Other than Starkiller's used lightsaber, the other two spare sabers on these robes are unclear. They aren't iconic movie sabers. They don't include Kazdan Paratus' saber staff fragment or Maris Brood's Tonfa sabers. I assume these could be the sabers of Kento and Mali Merrick, which were Starkiller's parents, but that's not backed up by anything. It's just a theory. The Sith Stalker armor is the direct opposite correlation to the ceremonial Jedi robes. The Sith Stalker armor is the darkest side of Starkiller we will see in the base game. Immediately recognizable as a twist on Vader's own damaged state at the end of Revenge of the Sith, the Sith Stalker armor is actually a Sith staple, one of which Darth Sidious was very aware of from his time studying the ancient Sith and their assassins. Featuring design inspirations from Mandalorian and Ubi's bounty hunter armors, the apprentice is nearly unrecognizable in this state, with pale and decaying skin, which is most likely decaying rapidly, and several new cybernetics, Starkiller has been transformed into a broken shadow of his former self. Taking a look from head to toe, we see the fitted helmet, looking mostly like an Ubi's helmet with a Mandalorian T-visor. A long strand of hair runs out of the back, possibly a mocking gesture of the Jedi by the Emperor. In the final cutscenes and then DLC experiences as Starkiller, we know that this version of the apprentice requires the use of a breathing apparatus, though likely due to Starkiller's lungs not being badly burnt like Vader, the apparatus doesn't need to be automated, merely enhancing the breathing that is already happening. A voice modulator allows Starkiller to speak as well, this too being garbled and laborious. Moving down to the neck and shoulders of the original Sith Stalker armor, it is shown to have an enclosed neck guard with a singular right pauldron. The chest is protected by intersecting blade-like metal, forming a shell around a sleeveless black leather bodysuit. Now, flesh does remain on Starkiller's limbs, which allows him the use of Force Lightning, though the fingers are adorned with blade-like spikes that threaten any who dare to get too close. Though, due to practice, I'm sure this didn't inconvenience the Sith. A red tattoo is also now adorned on the right arm of the apprentice, though its exact meaning is lost to us. The iconography is reminiscent to ancient Sith symbols, and is likely a brand on Starkiller given by the Emperor. The spare sabers on the belt belong to Starkiller with his original saber, General Coda, Darth Vader and Darth Maul, Shaak Ti, and Kazdan Paratus' saber staff / pike, as well as his new ancient Sith-inspired lightsaber. The Sith robes are a costume much like the ceremonial Jedi robes that are not canonically worn by Starkiller in the game. However, it may be true that these robes were retained based on the apprentice's appearance, as in the first teaser trailer for the game, where the famous Death Star pole first made its debut. These robes are classic Sith, very inspired by Darth Revan's robes, Darth Sidious and the rest. A black and red color scheme alongside some metallic armor pieces and an impressive cape gives clear indicator to where Starkiller could have been in a different era, or if he had taken Vader's place at the side of the Emperor and not been named. Kento's robes. They are very similar to the Sith robes. These are not worn by Starkiller canonically, and depict Kento Marek as he was when Vader faced him on Kashyyyk. There is no way that Starkiller could have obtained these unless he found them in the hut, but we don't know. The Sith training gear, or the early training gear. Taking obvious inspiration from the early designs for the training gear costume, this is highly involved in the earliest designs of the apprentice. He wears heavy chains, he has his face covered, and a cybernetic head apparatus, a little bit similar to the device that Lobot has installed from The Empire Strikes Back. It is assumed that as Vader's hold on the apprentice strengthened, he needed the actual restraints less and less, as the boy became ever more Vader's servant, his slave. We can see the shackles on both wrists. We can see the harness, probably used to restrain him, the chains around his neck, as well as the beginning of the rags. It looks to be the same outfit, just much earlier in his training. The actual description of this outfit reads, the training outfit supplied to the apprentice before he was commanded to eliminate General Coda. So we can assume that the training gear was simply what was left of this former outfit. The utility combat suit is described as a combat suit used by Jedi commanders during the Clone Wars. This is a very interesting take on the apprentice, as it would become even more popular later on. The Clone Wars television series put Jedi Knights and their Padawan learners on the front line. Now we see here that we have incorporation of a body sleeve underneath, with the red and black, with the red and white clone armor incorporated with several bandoliers and harnesses and packs. We see several blaster burns on the shoulders, and even the rare blaster holster there at Starkiller's hip. The Temple Exploration Gear. This outfit originally belonged to General Coda, given to the apprentice for his exploration of the Jedi Temple. Apparently, this was an outfit normally worn by Jedi Padawan learners as they took the Jedi trials, a necessary step in becoming a true Jedi Knight. This is a fitted outfit, which mixes traditional Jedi robes with practical armor. The red and white design and the charred lightsaber burns around the shoulders and upper back give a sense that even during times of peace, the Jedi trials were no joke. In the Legends continuity, there were several depictions of the Jedi trials. Special tests that would see if a candidate was worthy of becoming a fully fledged Jedi. There were 5 primary trials: the trial of skill, the trial of courage, the trial of flesh, the trial of spirit, and the trial of insight. Sometimes a Padawan would overcome insurmountable odds, and the Council would accept this event as one of the Jedi trials given by the Force. A few of these moments can be identified through the movies by this standard, and we'll go chronologically. Obi-Wan Kenobi's defeat of Darth Maul on Naboo was seen as a great trial, allowing him to be knighted following the events of the Phantom Menace. For heroism and enduring and surviving his encounter with Count Dooku, and then later in Legends, from Asajj Ventress on Yavin 4, Anakin Skywalker was awarded the rank of Knight during the Clone Wars. Even in the transition period between Lucas canon, now known as Legends, and Disney canon, Mace Windu claimed that Ahsoka's trials and tenacity she faced when framed for the temple bombing allowed her to bypass the trials and rejoin the Order as a knight, even though she would refuse. So, as the apprentice faces a trial of the spirit, much like Luke in Empire Strikes Back, he faces his inner darkness and emerges stronger in the light while acknowledging his darkness, which is, as we see with Yoda during the Clone Wars, a vital process in becoming ready to become one with the Force. The animated style, or as I like to call it, the Clone Wars apprentice, is a fun little sign of the times. The animated apprentice outfit was designed as a conceptual render of the Secret Apprentice in the Clone Wars animated style. When this game came out originally in 2008, the Clone Wars animated film was also in development. The Clone Wars television series would then later air following that standalone movie, so it makes sense that some collaboration between the branches of LucasArts would have brainstormed on all sorts of characters depicted in this way. We even know of a render of Darth Revan that ended up never being used in the actual series. If you've seen that animation style, then the apprentice's appearance here isn't very surprising, and it is actually very impressive. Rendered in his default outfit, it makes me wonder how an animated take on the character were translated outside of a video game or a novelization or the comic. The hooded combat gear. is described as a mixture of cloth and armor, having been worn by the ancient guardians of the Jedi Temple. The dark browns and grays of the outfit are actually very reminiscent of the newer Disney canon take on formalized Jedi robes from the High Republic, with the utility of their adventuring robes. The Sith Assassin, very reminiscent of the appearance of the Grand Inquisitor from the Disney canon, but inspired by the description of Sith assassins from the time of the Old Republic. This outfit is very simple and clean, and starkly contrasts Starkiller's chalk-white face and vibrant facial tattoos. I should also note that Starkiller was in talks of being brought back into new canon by being one of the first Inquisitors. The Dark Stalker. The Sith Stalker armor without the helmet reveals the face of Starkiller, with a series of cords running from the back of the skull, head completely hairless, and new facial tattoos carried over from the Sith Assassin model, but not as intense. The Dark Stalker is first seen as the second phase of the Jedi Temple DLC mission final boss encounter, as the Sith Warrior is revealed to be the dark side version of the Apprentice. The actual description reads, a variation of the Sith Stalker without a helmet. This armor is painfully grafted to the flesh and bone of its wearer, designed to transform the wearer into a hideously deformed assassin. And we do see that here. Cybernetic reconstruction. The most extreme version of the Sith Stalker armor, cybernetic reconstruction, makes Starkiller nearly unrecognizable, and is what I assume the Apprentice actually looked like when Palpatine first brought him to be rebuilt. Missing a jaw, any pupils, and most of his torso, this is, as the description states, a biomechanical nightmare. An even more extreme version of the Sith Stalker armor, this is the Apprentice almost completely transformed into a biomechanical nightmare, and we see that is the case. The Desert Survival gear is the first of the progressive versions of the Sith Stalker armor. We see Starkiller attempting to blend in with the denizens of Tatooine. Very closely resembling a Tusken Raider, several nodes and spikes are added to the helmet to resemble the shape of the Tusken masks, as well as bandoliers and ragged robes, probably to keep sand out of Starkiller's cybernetics. This outfit is first seen in the opening cutscene of the Tatooine DLC mission, and shows Starkiller's future as Vader's unwilling replacement. We'd see that this outfit is likely one very quickly assembled as he arrived on the planet, though I'm not sure how he would have bolted the spikes and nodes to his helmet without taking it off. Though, if you'll allow me a small tangent, Starkiller's suits, as a Sith Stalker, are very different than Vader's because of the difference in his injuries. Other than the blunt force trauma from the Rogue Shadow's impact, Starkiller wasn't burned. His skin and organs weren't scorched by flames or hot fumes, so the risk of infection and irritation wasn't as present for him as it was for Vader. Also, the lack of an automated breathing system allowed Starkiller to survive for extended periods without his helmet, a feat Vader was technically capable of, but it required extreme use of the Force to maintain. For a canon example of this, check out the Marvel comic run of Vader, where the Dark Lord of the Sith goes on a hunting trip with Grand Moff Tarkin. The Dark Lord's armor is the final Sith Stalker variant and the one that adorns most of the promotional material for the Ultimate Sith Edition. Extremely reminiscent of Darth Vader's armor from the original trilogy, we see Starkiller assuming direct command of Imperial forces. He isn't secretive or shadowy, he isn't eliminating all witnesses, he is on the front lines of the Battle of Hoth. And so, we see here that he is completely enclosed in that same material that adorned Vader's chest and arms. The metal for his chest piece has been changed from a silvery to a dark matte black. He still has controller portion on his belt buckle, the same lightsabers from before, and the gloves, and still kind of reminiscent of Anakin Skywalker's glove from Revenge of the Sith. The helmet extension gives the iconic visage of Darth Vader while remaining true to Starkiller's own special kind of intimidation. The actual description of the suit is an intimidating suit of Sith armor, inspired by the design of Starkiller's predecessor, but built for greater speed and agility. Which is a great point to make because Darth Vader's suit was designed to hinder him and allow him to be powerful and protected, but severely limited his abilities. He wasn't able to lift his arms above his head, for example. General Starkiller. One of my favorite glimpses into Starkiller's potential future, this costume is a depiction of the apprentice as if he was a general for the Rebel Alliance. Grizzled and older, he would have actually been present for the Clone Wars with his age here. Because of this, we can gather two insights. This is not an accurate depiction of Galen Merrick, if he would have survived until Endor, and it's not accurate to the lore of his character. Instead, this is actually a very deep reference behind the development of the character of Luke Skywalker during George Lucas's writing of the original Star Wars. Originally named Luke Starkiller, the movie would have depicted an older Jedi Knight and freedom fighter. It was the original last name of the hero, which would be given to Galen Merrick as a code name for his time under Darth Vader. The actual outfit sets Starkiller to around the age of Ben Kenobi or Rob Coda, and would have made him an Order 66 survivor if we followed the lore. Dressed in combat fatigues and a green trench coat, this outfit is very similar to that of the Endor Special Forces unit that Han led to destroy the Death Star 2 shield generator immediately before the Battle of Endor, featured in the Return of the Jedi. The Spirit Apprentice. A very simple outfit for Galen Merrick, and one that I don't use often, is the Spirit Apprentice. Very hypothetical and potentially lore-breaking, but fun. As I stated in the Tatooine DLC mission, we almost never see a Force Ghost engage with anything. In fact, before the Rise of Skywalker, we weren't sure that the Force Ghosts could even interact with the physical world. Not including the epic scene of Master Yoda lighting the Force Tree on fire in The Last Jedi. Depicting the Force Ghost of Galen Merrick, once he died at the end of the first game, this shows us a reminder that Galen Merrick became one with the Force. He became a true Jedi. Actual description reads as such: the apprentice in the ghostly blue form of a Jedi who has become more powerful than we could possibly imagine.
That is going to be the episode. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for this semi-deep dive into some of the lore behind the costumes for the Secret Apprentice in Star Wars The Force Unleashed Ultimate Sith Edition. If you would like me to dive into the other costumes that aren't related to Starkiller, and maybe even some of the cheat code exclusive costumes, then please let me know. Otherwise, I hope you're having a great day. Give me a like. If you liked the video, consider giving us a like, a comment, even subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Otherwise, I hope you're having a great day, and as always, keep telling stories.